TV World. I'm Clyde, and today I'm going to answer a bunch of your questions about what it's like to have a Supra. Ever since I've gotten a car and been uploading videos, I've got a ton of questions from you guys and a lot of really good questions. And the way I think about my YouTube channel is really as like a knowledge database where everybody can come and answer questions and learn from each other. I learned a lot from you guys in the comments, and hopefully you can learn something from me. So the plan today is to kind of run through these questions and some of these comments. Some are pretty critical, I'm going to be upfront, and so these are going to be a lot of fun to answer. But then again, some of these are just really well worth knowing for everybody out there that's thinking about getting a Supra or just thinking about getting a fun car in general. So let's get into it. First question I have is from Phil Gudet, Gudet. Not really sure how to spell that. The question is, I see you had a manual M4 before. Do you miss or regret that Toyota didn't put a manual in the Supra? If they offered a manual, would you have preferred that? Now, that's a really, really good question. And to give a little bit of background, when I had the 2015 BMW M4, it had a 6-speed manual transmission. And the reason I got it was my thinking that, well, manual cars are about to go extinct. I should get a manual car. All the car guys are getting manuals. It's like a big thing, right? And so I had the manual M4. I had a lot of fun with that car, but I always felt like the dual clutch was the best transmission for that car. And BMW's shifters also, they just don't feel that good. I really am not a fan of the notchy feel. And for a while, I don't want to say that I regretted not getting DCT, but I kind of wish I did get a dual clutch transmission. Nothing against people that love manuals. I completely understand how you love having that third pedal and that feeling of involvement. But to me, driving with paddle shifters doesn't take any of the enjoyment away, like none whatsoever. Now, that being said, when it comes to other cars, like I had the chance to drive a Cayman GT4, and if I had to pick a Cayman GT4 with a PDK or a manual, I'd actually get the manual. And there's just something, that manual shifter in that car feels super crisp, like just super crisp. And the fact that the car has really long gears kind of plays to the advantage that you don't need to downshift every time you're going into a corner or coming out of one. So Porsche Cayman GT4 manual, if Supra were to come out with a manual, I'd still stick with the ZF8 automatic. It's a really good transmission. Nothing against it. I have another comment here that says, I'm debating if I want to trade in my Camry for a Supra. Now, don't laugh. Don't laugh. A lot of people, I know you guys are seeing this, there's a lot of stereotypes against Camrys, but a lot of people just make that jump. And so it's like, I think what you need to think of is are you willing to sacrifice a certain level of comfort? Do you enjoy driving is what it comes down to. If you're going from the grocery store to your house or just daily driving, then a Camry is going to be a better car. I'm sure you'll get better fuel economy, and then you can carry 4 people really easily. The Supra only has 2 seats, so if it's your only car, it's not going to be convenient. But if you really love cars, if you want to mod your car, if you want to have a show car, if you love driving in the canyons, if you want to, use a car for a hobby, then the Camry just can't take that box. And so it's up to you to decide if you want to make that jump. And also if it's worth the money. A Supra is more expensive than a Camry, unless you probably get a TRD model, which might be probably $50K or something like that. Anyway, next question. How long does it take to wait when you first ordered a Supra till the day you pick it up? This was by Duck O. So Duck, if you order a Supra from the factory, and I don't even know if this is possible, but I'll just give you my experience from previous BMWs, right? It takes 6 to 8 weeks for the car to be built. And depending on which coast you live, if you live on the East Coast, your car will take about 6 weeks to get there. But if you live on the West Coast, like myself, the car might take probably more 8 weeks because your car has to go out through the Panama Canal. And even then, once your car arrives in the United States, it has to go through customs and it has to go to the vehicle delivery center. And the vehicle delivery center will sometimes, notice that, there might have been some damage in transit, so then they'll have to fix your car. Now, fun story, when I had my M4 and my car was back in the US, my car was stuck in a vehicle delivery center over like some really minor like recall thing. Like there was a service bulletin over like a CAN bus, like a small mechanical thing, electronic thing that had to be fixed, and they had my car locked up there. But luckily, shout out to my homie Ricardo, had a connection at BMW North America, and all I had to do was just make one phone call, and my car was on a truck the next day, headed to the Bay Area. So something to keep in mind. When I got my Supra, I was able to get it just right off the lot, and it's like the big advantage of the Supra is that there aren't really many options. There's only, the driver assist package, and, if you're getting the premium car. But a lot of times you can find a car to your spec on the lot, so you don't really need to order it out. Whereas, if a car had a bunch of options, you probably want to, build it to your spec. Next question. Well, actually, this isn't even a question. This is a comment. You should have gotten the A91 model. That is the one I have, by Channel 1. The A91, I wanted the blue. Like, I saw the blue and I was like, whoa, I have to have that. I'm tired of driving these boring color cars. I had a white M4, a black M2. But then the big thing about the A91 model is there's no heads-up display. Like, there's no heads-up display on the A91. I don't understand why. It's the exact same car, but no heads-up display. And BMW didn't even announce that or anything. It's just something that people found out once their cars started getting delivered, that the car was missing like an option. Like a heads-up display is at least like a $2,000 option. And like there's just no heads-up. And it's not like there's a discount on it. The car costs the same as like my car. And on top of that, I got a great discount on my car, right? I got $4,500 off sticker on my car. But if I were to get an A91, then I probably, would be lucky to pay sticker. So then that means that an A91 costs $4,500 more than a regular A90 that has the same horsepower, same everything. And so you're paying $4,500 more for for a color and no head. Like, you see where I'm going with this. And so, yes, I am a cheapo. I do the math, and it didn't add up to me. But anybody that has an A91, I'm sure you love it, especially if you've never had a heads-up display in your car. You don't know what you're missing out on. And, if we're being honest, it's not the best heads-up display because it doesn't show your RPM gauge or what gear you're in. But still, I love the heads-up display. You could see, your music. You can see your navigation. You can see your speed. You also have driver assistance, like safety things that pop up there. So no regrets. I'm sticking with my car. I'll probably, eventually wrap it or something like that. But I don't regret passing up on the A91s. Next question. Michelle F. asked, congrats. Did you get rid of the black M2? Yes. Correction. It wasn't an M2. It was an M235i. The lease came to an end, so I just turned it in. Next question. Congrats. Didn't know you picked this up until now. Those carpet guys were hella funny. That was hilarious. Did you pick up wind deflector kit for the mirrors? So, funny thing is, a lot of people, when they review the Supra, they complain about the wind buffeting. But there's a $10 fix from Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description. And you're buying like these door ding protectors, and then you just kind of have to like cut them a little bit, and you could put them on next to your side mirrors, and that'll basically vent out the wind. So you don't have to worry about hearing the wind buffeting. But I started with that, and then eventually my girlfriend actually bought me like the real deal wind deflectors. And so those are like $100 to $150, and she got those off of off of IND. It's not just, it looks really OEM, so it doesn't look, the $10 wind deflectors are great, but if you look up close, they do look a little bit weird because they're like door guards. But yeah, great nonetheless, great starter. If you buy Supra, you want to have those like right off the bat, no doubt. All right, next question. Hey man, what color powder coating did you use on the OEM rims, and how much did it cost you? I'm also planning my OEM rims done. Tekka. So Tekka, I got my wheels powder coated. I want to say it was $400. It was either $400 or $500. I had to pay all cash, part of the discount. But I went with a gloss black. My last couple cars were, what is it called? Not matte black, basically. satin black. And while satin black is great, I just decided to go with a gloss finish this time just to switch it up. I think satin would also like stay cleaner longer. But yeah, satin black, can't go wrong. $400. The thing you have to keep in mind is that they need to keep your wheels 24 hours. And so the spot that I went to was about 40 minutes away. So I had to figure out, logistics of getting somebody to pick me up, somebody to drop me back off within 24 hours. But highly, highly, highly recommend getting it done. And then Car Story says, don't forget the lack of an oil dipstick. The only way to know your oil level is by using the infotainment. This is very odd to me. Yes, you are right, Car Story. I think all BMWs, starting with like the F platform, which was in 2012, 2013, they all just have no oil dipstick. You literally just have to go into the machine and it still feels like just kind of a weird process, but I don't know. It's just weird BMW German things, that strive for perfection. I don't know if it's necessary, but either way. All right, now we're getting into downpipe questions. A lot of you guys had questions about my exhaust setup, which I'm glad you did. I think mods are one of the things where you have to do your research before you put them on your car, before you spend money on them. Before you get into this, going to ask you guys to please hit that like button. If you haven't already, do hit the subscribe button. It supports the channel a lot, and it lets me know that you guys enjoy these type of videos. Comrade Amir asks, do you get the cracks and burbles on downshifts with the catted downpipe? Want to see how it compares to the 2020 model. So yes, I still get the cracks and burbles, but the 2020 and 2021 have a different tuning in that the 2020 just has a lot more burbles in general. So with the 2021 and the catted downpipe, they sound louder, but you're not going to get more. If you can flash your car or tune your car, you can get it to be, have a lot more burbles. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the whole burble thing, but it is what it is. Travis Harris asked, did the check engine light come in after you installed the downpipe? And so, yes, it did. I can't remember how many miles. I probably were like 500 miles or something like that, or maybe 1,000 miles. I eventually got a check engine light from the downpipe, unfortunately. Now, what I did find, I actually made a video about this. I'll link it in the comments below. But what I found out is that I can actually clear the downpipe. I have an OBD2 reader, which allows me to basically diagnose check engine lights. And in order to clear the check engine light, somebody left this to me on a comment. So I'm very, very thankful for that. You have to go into maintenance mode. And once you go into maintenance mode, all you have to do is just press the start button 3 times rapidly. Once you go into maintenance mode, you're able to clear the check engine light. So I got that fixed. JTN says you need O2 spacer, bro. So I've read on forums actually that people put O2 spacers on their downpipe and they still get a check engine light. So I'm not going to go through the trouble of going through that if the check engine light is still going to come on. For those of you that don't know, when you're plugging in your downpipe, you initially have a O2, like an oxygen sensor that goes into the exhaust and that will read kind of like, what the oxygen levels are. And since, you have less restriction, there's going to be a lot more oxygen, and that's going to basically throw a check engine light. But if, you would use an O2 spacer, that would push the reader a little bit, the sensor a little bit back farther, so you wouldn't have the issue. Anyway, it's mods things. You start messing with your car, things are going to happen. Did you need a tune for the catted downpipe? This is a really good question because I did not, but if I had a tune, I don't know if the check engine light would come in a lot more often. The big advantage of getting a tune on your car is that most of the time the tunes will allow you to clear the check engine lights and it'll just keep them off the whole time. Another big advantage is usually by getting a tune, you're able to take advantage of your mods a lot more. But, and this is a really cool thing about the Supra, is that a lot of people have gotten their cars dynoed after installing a downpipe, and they actually got more power without a tune, which is usually never the case. It's like the ECU automatically adjusted and started cranking out more ponies. So one of the perks, I don't feel as much of a difference. I let my friend drive my car, and he said it felt like my car just had a lot more acceleration. But yeah, more power, no tune needed. For clarity, the date that actually matters is your ECU date. The build date does not always coincide with the ECU date. Check this date first. Your car may still be tunable. Cray 4S2K. Thank you. Thank you, Cray 4S2K, for getting that out there. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are on the fringe of having a car that is outside of the, that locked ECU period that, might just have an ECU that was, from earlier build date. Unfortunately, I checked my car and my ECU was still built after June 1st. And so it's locked. Just the 2021 thing is just, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. I want, to get my car ECU flashed. But for now, I can wait. I'll just give it some time. When I had my M4, I think ECU flash tunes didn't come out until like 2.5 or 2 years into ownership. So hopefully that's just all it takes. Next question. What's a good starter car that's good on gas? This question was by Mac. And so I actually posted this on my Instagram to just ask a bunch of people because I thought it was kind of a fun question. My personal answer would be FRS because it's rear-wheel drive. It's not too expensive. And I mean, before this whole semiconductor shortage, you could get one of those for cheap. But there was some really good answers. I think somebody said like a EKG, which is like a Civic hatch, will be a good car. A GTI is also a really good first car. Let me know what you think. Comment down in the comments what would be a good first car that's good on gas. And he also said the budget will be $18,000, which I think is a lot more money than you should spend on your first car. My first car was $600 and I pretty much ran it to the ground. So don't waste your money. Just drop maybe like, I don't know, $8,000 and save the $10K for a couple years later. And then you'll be fine because your first car, you're just going to learn a bunch of stuff. Now, let's get into the money questions. You guys had a lot of questions regarding leasing that I'm happy to answer. First question is by Problematics. Problematics asks, wait, so the M4 at $700 a month for the best lease deal and you're happy paying $670 for Supra? That doesn't make much sense to me. And it doesn't until you look at it in terms of relatives. Relatively, the M4 CS was just like 1 in a million. I don't know if there's ever going to be a lease deal that's good. It's a complete outlier. Once I look at the Supra in relative, people were paying $830 a month for 2020 Supras and upwards. So $670, after tax, which is really $611 when you're looking at comparing terms, is not that bad. And so that's how you got to look at lease deals. You always have to look into relative, like jumping back and forth. I think I threw the M4 CS example out there just to show how good BMWs lease in general. Toyotas do not lease that good. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see with the upcoming M3s and M4s, how they're going to lease. But that was a crazy deal. I knew I wasn't going to get anything close to that. But compared to what I saw for the Supra, it was as good as it gets. The only better deal that I saw out there was in Texas. And it was $590 a month pre-tax. So, it's like I got $611 and then I could have got $590 in Texas. And the Texas deal was for Texas residents only. So, it is what it is. My only complaint with leasing is you can't modify the car and you have to stay under a certain mileage variance. Ask Alex Hall. So, Alex, you can lease a car and modify it as much as you want. It's not like there's an inspector that comes in and that checks in on you every once in a while to see what you've done. Your worry is the warranty. If you swap out a new engine in your car, they're going to void the warranty, right? And when it comes to leasing, they just want the car back in a good condition. When you go and turn your car back in and you have an Ellis swapped engine in there, they're going to be like, wait a minute, like this is different. But for mods that I'm doing, if we're talking bolt-ons, I could just remove the mods. And I've turned in cars with mods still on them. Like I think my M4 still had like a carbon fiber diffuser. I still had like an air filter on there or something like that. So you can mod your car. You can put new wheels on a lease or whatever it might be. It's really not a biggie. I think your biggest worry would be the warranty, really. That's something to just keep in mind. And make sure you have a good service advisor. Go to a dealership that's kind of mod friendly. That'll let you know, if you need to take your mods off before getting service or warranty work or things like that. And then as far as like the mileage goes, yes, mileage is a thing if you plan on turning the car in. So with my Supra, I'm kind of thinking about keeping it past the mileage date, or I guess the lease expiration date. So then in that case, I really don't need to care about the mileage. But I'm fortunate in my situation that I work here. I work from home, so I don't have to worry about a commute. And so, yeah, I can just pretty much drive the car whenever I want. I don't have to worry about running it up. But it all comes down to resale value, really. A lease agreement is just saying that you have the option to turn a car in. But, my M4, I sold my M4. I was leasing it and I sold it because the market value was higher than the book value of the car. And I got to profit some of that, some of that good residual. Next question. Let's see. Whoa, I just lost my bookmark. Hey, I was wondering if your car is leased or financed, Azteca. The car is leased. Homie, clear bra, just front bumper, nothing else. My C63 is just front bumper and side skirts. I did it myself. So this isn't a leasing question, but to answer your question, Dre, I still didn't do it, mainly because I'm thinking about wrapping the whole car. So if I'm going to wrap it, no point in, wasting money on a clear bra. But I do want to do a ceramic coating, but I don't know. I'm fine for now. All right, OVO Infamy has two big questions. When leasing, what happens to your lease when you mod the vehicle like Powaup has done? So I just answered that question. It's just if you're going to turn the car in, then, you want to take the car off, but the warranty is your biggest concern. 2, insurance. I'm going to assume you need full coverage on a lease, and that's never an issue. Correct me if I'm wrong on it, but necessary or not. But what happens to your lease if you get into a wreck or damage the vehicle, or worse, total it? So this is actually a really good question. So I've answered part 1, but to answer part 2, when it comes to insurance, yes, you should get full coverage, but there's something called gap insurance. Gap insurance is included in all BMW leases. It's not included with Toyota leases, but it's included with US Bank leases and a couple other companies. So if you're leasing, make sure you have gap insurance. And essentially how gap insurance works is that it'll make sure you're covered, depending on what your insurance will pay you out. So to give you a clear example, let's say a car is $50,000, right? So my Supra is $50,000 and I get into an accident, right? The car is completely totaled out and I still owed $45,000 on my lease, right? Let's just make the numbers easy, right? Like I still have a loan on a lease for $45,000. But the insurance company comes back and they say well, your car was only worth $40,000. So we're only going to get covered $40,000. And then you have that gap of $5,000, right? Gap insurance will cover that gap. That's why it's called gap insurance, right? Plain and simple. So it's something you want to make sure that you have just in case, you don't have to worry about no nightmare situation. You don't have to worry about getting lowballed by your insurance company. Yeah, it's one of those things that I've learned. And like I said before, leasing, you have to do your research before you get into it because there's just so many variables. Love the video. Quick question. Did they add a markup to the vehicle when you first got into negotiations? I have been looking at a few Supras and the dealer keeps saying it has a $10K markup on original MSRP. Thanks. By Zach Broitman. Zach, this is like a big thing with Supras. This is why I went through Lease Hacker and found a broker to actually get my car at a good deal. Because my car literally had a sticker for $10K when I went to pick it up, like a markup sticker for $10K. So it's a dealer's strategy to always put the highest sticker, and they're banking on people just walking in, not looking at the price, buying the car. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to look around and try to find a car that's at a discount. Like I said, I got my car for $4,500 off. Plus at the time Toyota was doing a $1,500 incentive. However, that was back in November. Today it's June 5th? June 5th, 2021. And the car market is insane. People are selling their cars for more than what they paid for it after they've put a lot of mileage on there. Like I see a lot of people trying to sell their 2021 Supras for $60,000 when, they paid $50K for them. So it's a really tough task, but I think if you look around, you might just be able to find something out there. I have a friend right now that's looking for a Civic Type R, and he can't find a dealer that's willing to sell it for less than 5K MSRP, over MSRP. So it's just nuts right now. But best of luck to you, Zach. I hope you can figure it out, or you could just wait a little bit. I think it's tough. Used market, even new. But if you hunt out there, maybe find a broker, you could, get a slight discount or at least pay sticker. I would avoid to pay over MSRP because sooner or later, the semiconductor production is going to catch up to demand and car prices are just going to adjust. They're going to go down sooner or later. All right, next question. This is a loaded one. This is the last question. It's by Revoked. Revoked says, LOL, $616 a month. It's not a great deal. You got to work and pay off that car monthly. That's a lease. If you get fired and lose your job, rip your car. Also, mileage will take on effect. Me, who financed an Evo in 2015.
I couldn't hear what you said.
Damn, Siri just got mad. Me, who financed an Evo in 2015 and paying $560 a month, I start to realize no car is worth monthly payment. I'd rather enjoy my life, work less, invest that monthly payment into crypto and stocks to make money. Cars disrupt cash flows. I personally hate it. Everyone's different. If I was going to finance a Supra last year, I'm glad I didn't. LOL. And I mean, that's like an existential question. Do you want to spend money on a car or not? Cars, they're not cheap. And so the way that I justify them is that cars are my passion. I love driving. I love making videos about cars. I love taking pictures of cars. I think I love the car community. Most of my friends that I hang out with now, I've all met through cars. I started a company thanks to people that I met when I had my BMW M4 that, I just so happened to hang out in Europe with, complete strangers. So that's a big question for you. How much, are you willing to really get into it? I think it's like, that's a question that only you can answer. For me, it's like cars are everything. Yes, the financially responsible decision will be to not spend any money on cars and just invest all your money, right? I mean, just don't buy food either. Like, don't go on vacations. Don't buy nice clothes. Don't buy anything. Just don't spend any money. And so it's up to you really to decide. Do you want to spend money on cars? Or do you want to, invest, get into cryptos? For me, it's all about balance. I set money aside every month to put into stocks, just to try to dollar cost average stuff. And I'm still able to pay for my car and, enjoy it. And so, don't go broke trying to get a car, but I have no regrets. I'm paying for the car. I pay, the things add up. Cars aren't cheap. I'm paying for car insurance, parking, and then the mods, you know what I mean? But to me, it's worth it. It's one of the best joys in life. On that note, I think that's pretty much it for today. This was a bit of a longer video, but I really wanted to get through it and answer a lot of your questions live. So next up, I think I'll probably try to make a video, talk about the oil consumption issues I'm having with my car, although that's an ongoing thing. And we'll also just try to make a lot more videos of me driving a car because that's what's most fun. But all right, thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.